take a moment and subscribe, share, like, comment, and we'll try to answer your questions. This week in the Parsha, we learn about the giving of the Torah. Finally, after leaving Egypt, it's not just after leaving it. In a sense, the whole reason why we went into Egypt was a preparation to receive the Torah, getting us ready on multiple levels. The process of being in Egypt, the process of elevating the sparks that exist in Egypt, the holy sparks and so on that are trapped there. But at this stage, the Yidden are ready to receive the Torah. And without getting into all the preparations that were necessary and into all the details surrounding the giving of the Torah, we have 10 commandments. They're not 10 multiple choice, but they're 10 commandments. And one of them, which I want to discuss today, is Zocher es Yom HaShabbos L'Kadshe, which is the mitzvah of Shabbos. But Torah specific, Torah says, remember the Shabbos and keep it holy, or make it holy. There's another place in Torah where it says the 10 commandments. That's in Parshas Va'eschanan, in Deuteronomy, in the 5th book. And over there, Moshe Rabbeinu was speaking to the Jewish people, and he tells us also the 10 commandments. He repeats it. Over there, he doesn't say remember the Shabbos. He says keep the Shabbos. So in Hebrew, it's Zocher is remember, and Shomer is keep, like protect. Now, our sages teach us that each one of these expressions, Zocher versus Shomer, represent two different elements to Shabbos. One is remember Shabbos means do the positive mitzvahs of Shabbos, like make Kiddush, daven, all the things that a person does on Shabbos. And Shomer, protect the Shabbos or keep the Shabbos, alludes to keeping it, meaning those things are included in the word Shomer. However, when Hashem said Zocher, he did something which is humanly impossible. And he said Zocher and Shomer, two different words, they're not even similar, at the same time. It's a human can't say it and a human can't hear it. When you say normally Zocher, it's either you say Zocher and later you say Shomer. Hashem said Zocher v'Shomer together in the same word, which is humanly not possible to say and it's humanly not possible to hear. You can only hear one thing at a time. We have this halacha in many instances in Jewish law when it comes to a chazan or reading the Megillah or other things. When you have two people speaking at the same time, you don't properly hear any of them because your ear is designed, you could hear one, even let's say a choir. You hear a group, but you're not properly hearing each one, especially if, in this case, it's two different words. One is Zocher, one is Shomer. So if a human can't hear it, what's the point of saying it? Why did Hashem say Zocher and Shomer together in two different words, which mean two different things at the same time, in order for us to tell it to us? If we can't hear it, we can't understand it. So to understand this question, he introduces an idea that Torah was not just given to the people standing at the mountain. Really, there was much more. 600,000 is just men over the age of 20, between 20 and 60. Then you have all the women, and you have all the children, and you have people that are over 60. So it's several million people, and a conservative estimate. So our sages tell us that Torah was not just given to them, but Torah was given to everyone that will ever come afterwards. Any soul that will ever be placed in the body, all those souls were there, even though they weren't technically alive yet, they're only in potential. They were all there when Hashem gave the Torah. Now, what's the point of giving them the Torah if they're not in a body? We know that you can only do the Torah if you're in a body. It's like you're giving me something which I can't do. I may come into existence in 2,000-3,000 years later, and I'm there now to receive the Torah. What's this about? And in truth, we know this in many places in Jewish thought, that we've all been, any one of our souls have been by the giving of the Torah. They say about the Maggid of Mizrich, the second Rebbe, successor of the Baal Shem Tov, that he would ask his Talmidim, his disciples, do you remember receiving the Torah? And he would say, I don't remember. And he would look at them intently, and just from the stare of the tzaddik and the holiness of his eyes, they would remember. Like literally remember being at the giving of the Torah Mount Sinai, which was A, they weren't alive then, it was just their soul. B, it's so many years before. But there's this concept that Torah was given to everyone, even those that weren't born yet, just the neshama. And the question is, what's the point of giving us the Torah if we can't receive it? In other words, if we can't use it and it doesn't apply to us, we're going to be in a body after many, many years. So you have to understand what's the point of giving the Torah to a neshama without a body, and what's the point of getting it if you can't receive it. There's a principle in halacha that you can't acquire or even give over to someone else to acquire something which doesn't exist yet. I write a contract with you, and I tell you that my orange tree outside, I'm going to give you the oranges when it's ripe, or when it comes into being. Okay, I have to keep my word. I have to say what I said, but I have to do what I said, and I have to. If I sign the contract, I got to keep the contract. But technically speaking, are these oranges yours? They're not. They don't exist yet. And I can't give you anything that doesn't exist yet. I could promise to give you. I could be required to give it to you, but they're not yours. I have to make them yours, but they're not yours. Why? Because something which is not here yet cannot be transacted. We could talk about it. We could commit. We can't give it over. You have this concept in regards to children before they're born, or various different things regarding inheritance and korbanos or gifts to the Beis Hamikdash. Something which wasn't here yet doesn't have the validity or the status that you've given it over. It doesn't mean that you can get out of it, but it's not the same thing. And in our case, Hashem is giving us the Torah, which we can't use it because we're not in bodies, many of us. In other words, only a few million were there, but all the rest of the history of our people, we weren't there. So what's the point of giving it to us? Another question, while we're asking questions, it says, you should not have any other gods, which means idols, in front of me or in front of my face. What do you mean in front of me? Hashem is everywhere. There is no place. It's like, in Israel, no idols. Out of Eretz Yisrael, okay. Of course, that's not what it means. You shouldn't have idols in front of me. What does it mean in front of me? So, in order to understand this whole entire dilemma, Hashem giving the Torah, of saying remember and keep Shabbos in one word, which a human can't understand. Giving the Torah to souls that are not born yet, we all our souls were there. What's the point? We can't use it. Why do you say don't worship idols in front of me? I'm always in front. I'm Hashem. I'm everywhere. Okay? So, in order to understand all this, we need to understand that when Hashem gave the Torah, He gave it in the general way and in the detailed way. What did Hashem say when He gave the Torah? He said 10 commandments, but there's much more than 10 commandments. There's a whole 5 books of Moses, right? The whole Chumash. There are halachas, Mishnah, and Gemara, and all the commentaries of Rabbi and Zohar, and so on. All these other things. Any holy book, it was all given at the giving of the Torah. But there are 2 parts. There's the general and the detail. The general was given in the 10 commandments. Everything's included there, but it's relatively small and short. Hashem gave us those. Then the rest of it was given to us over time. For 40 years in the desert, Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, now it's Rosh Hashanah. Here's how you have to do. Here, the laws of Rosh Hashanah or the laws of Yom Kippur, when Hashem gave the Torah, it was given in a very general form. And then Moshe told it to us when it applied. It's like a present that's being unwrapped as you go along. So what's the point here? That by the giving of Torah, Hashem gave us a certain ability, a certain potential to be able to use and receive the Torah, that every time we're involved in Torah, learning it and doing its mitzvahs, doing the commandments, we get a certain revelation of godly light, a certain holiness which comes to us. That ability was given at the giving of the Torah. Hashem gave something in a very general form. He didn't give us all the details, but He gave us this gift that, by the way, He said everything. We just didn't, we can't connect with it or understand it because we're human. It's 10 sayings, 10 commandments. But Hashem gave us these, let's just say this gift, that every time we learn Torah and every time we do mitzvahs, we have a special spiritual light that gets revealed. And therefore, you also had neshamas, souls that were not in a body yet. They were there to receive the Torah. Why? Because we still need this strength, ability, this potential that one day, when we do come into this world, when this neshama will be born, we're going to do mitzvahs. Where do you get the ability that somehow it gives you holiness? Let's remember that someone that is not required to do mitzvahs, and he does mitzvahs, he's not going to get that holiness. It's not a recipe. It's a connection. So if your neshama is supposed to do it, and it does, then there's this gift that you reveal a certain level of godliness and holiness. I say reveal, it's not that we feel it necessarily, but it exists on a level that's in this world. So every neshama, every soul had to be there because we need the potential. That when we will be born, it's not, give me the law later. I can give you the law later. In 1,000 years, when you'll be born, some teacher will tell you how to put on tefillin. But that's not going to give you the ability that when you put on tefillin, you have this connection with Hashem, and it brings a revelation of Hashem's light. All that happened by the giving of the Torah. When we got that, we now have the ability to do so. What's this concept? Because through Torah mitzvah, a unity of Hashem in our soul, as it's known. Now, what's the soul? So the soul itself, we know it's part of Hashem, but here we're going to focus on a different aspect, on a different aspect of the neshama. And that is that the neshama is a creation, and it comes from nothing to something. Usually, we don't say that about a neshama, because the neshama is part of God, and it is. But at the same time, it's a creation, and it came from nothing into something, like the rest of creation. And point is that there's no relation, not no connection, but you can't compare the neshama, which is a creation, to Hashem, which is its creator. As holy as the neshama is, and as essential, and it's part of Hashem and all that, it's a creation. And you can't compare the soul that we have to Hashem, to the creator itself. Why? Because regarding Hashem, we know that he's separate. Again, of course, he's involved in this world, but he's so removed, he's so holy. Holy in Hebrew, Kodesh means separate, exalted. It's its own category. And not only is Hashem in his own category, but even the name of Hashem, which usually the name is something you could relate to, right? I may not have the same level of thinking as that professor or that whatever it is, and I can't even relate to the levels that he understands, but I call him by his name, I have a connection. I know his name, and he answers to his name. So there's some relation there. Even the name of Hashem, we say, is removed. All you have here is a shine, a ray of Hashem that's in this world. Now, the neshamas, all the souls, they praise Hashem forever. Now, we have to go a little bit deeper here to understand this. Forever, in Hebrew, you have three terms, three ways to say forever. You could say netzach, everlasting, sela, and void, eternally and forever. Netzach, sela, and void. Sela means that it goes on forever, but never stops. Not that it, in other words, there's no breaks. It's not that it'll last forever, but it could stop a little bit or whatever. It's not constant.
Continuous versus continual.
Continuous versus continual. Okay. Chaim on coffee. When we say that the Yidden Sela, because Sela means that it doesn't stop at all. It just goes constant. What was the word you used? Continuously. And it never ends. It's both. So how are you going to bring down the unity of the light of Hashem when you're how do you bring down this unity? You do it through learning Torah and mitzvahs. That's what happens when you do it. Now, this is something which, again, if someone that's not required to do it, just some other nation comes off the street and says, I like Shabbos, they're not going to bring that same level of holiness. They could technically become Jewish and go through the process and whatever else, but it's not what you do. It's not just the action, but there's also a relationship that was given when Hashem gave us the Torah, which gives us that ability. And it was a preparation, and the potential was given to us. And that's why Torah was given with a tremendous commotion. There was thunder, there was lightning, it was a big hoo-ha, right? Because in order to have something new, you have to have a breakdown of the old to have a new. We discussed it last week about a seed. When you plant a seed, the seed has to rot and decay. Not the seed, but the outside, the shell, has to rot in order to come to something else. We're taking nothing and turning it into something, which is the process of the souls becoming that level of souls. The process of neshama is getting the ability that through mitzvahs we bring forth a revelation of godliness. Something is transpiring then. And what that is happening through and while you have all this thunder and lightning by the giving of the Torah. Because what that did was that commotion brought a certain bittul, a nullification, a subservience, a dedication of the neshama to Hashem. And once you have that bittul, that you say it's not about me, but it's about Hashem, in a real sense, that's when you could have renewal and you could have something created from nothing to something. So much so that every word Hashem said, their souls left the body, right? When Hashem said, I am Hashem, I took you out of Egypt, the Jewish people passed out. They died. The neshama left the body, and Hashem had to return it, put it back in, and revive them. And then they said the next one, the Yelachan. Again, what was going on? What was this whole craziness? Because what was happening was there was such a bittul to dedication, a nullification to godliness, that they turned literally into nothing. They expired, but that gave them the ability to have something new that comes after that. The newness here is the ability that from now on, whenever you do a mitzvah, for generations to come, people that weren't born yet, it gives them a revelation of godliness, which is so removed and so on. So in summary, giving of the Torah, which we didn't answer all our questions yet, hopefully tomorrow and Thursday, Friday, God willing. But the point is that when Hashem gave us the Torah, He didn't just give us the words, He didn't just give us information, He didn't even just give us commandments, but He gave us an ability, which is timeless. That you do a mitzvah, you connect and you reveal Hashem's Ohr Yisro, His infinite light. And not only that, but it was a tremendous shift in existence, which is called from nothing to something, which happens through a complete change in the person. Have a wonderful day. Join us at 5:15 as we learn some Talmud. Thanks those for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from. Sei gesund.